Hello and welcome to the latest in the Domino LinkedIn Live series. Our previous sessions, I am advised, are still available as recordings if this particular session whets your appetite for more. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by two leading lights in the world of digital printing. That's Geert de Prost, Director of Market Intelligence and Product Partnerships at ESCO, and Domino's own Michael Strello, a Mayor Account Manager for our Corrugated printing business. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
A few words about my guests today. They've got incredible CVs, as you'll discover as we go. Geert was academically trained as a translator. We're not going to get into that, unfortunately, during the course of the session, but I'd love to hear more about that afterwards, Geert. He started out as a trainer in Barco Graphics in 1994 before a stint as a solution architect in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia, before returning to Belgium in 2000 and jumping into the world of product management. His focus has included RIPs and color and screening and workflow automation and the digital front end, the DFE. Then for more than a decade, Geert was head of software product development at ESCO before taking on his current position of building out the S2 platform partner ecosystem with all those involved in the packaging supply chain. I'm delighted to have you here, Geert. Welcome.
It's my pleasure, Jerry.
From Domino, Michael has over 30 years experience of the printing and packaging industries at such prestigious global organizations as Heidelberg Druckmaschinen, ESCO Kongsberg and Konica Minolta. This has given him a deep understanding of both traditional and digital printing production, and he's built strong expertise in implementing innovative printing and finishing solutions right across the printing packaging markets. As I mentioned, he's now responsible for the Domino X630i digital corrugate press in the EMEA region. It's good to see you today, Michael. Welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So the format for this session will be the same as all the other Domino ones that we've done. I've got a list here of a few pre-prepared questions that I'll put to you both, and I may also interject with some others as we go and to keep the conversation moving forward. I'd also invite all of you out there watching to submit your own questions. We've got about 40 minutes today, and while I've got a long list of answers I've got to get through, I would like the opportunity for you to ask your questions. So I'll try and keep some time back at the end. I am notoriously bad at doing that, I will say, but we will try and get to some listener questions or watcher questions before the end as we go. Rest assured, though, that if you do submit a question and we don't get to it today, we will make sure that we answer everything afterwards. So there'll be plenty of time for us to follow up on after the end of the session today, and we'll get them posted back up to the LinkedIn recording page. So let's get started. I'm going to start with an easy one for you both to ease you into it. And I'm going to be rude, and I'm going to start with Michael first, and then come to you as our guest afterward, Geert, if that's okay.
No worries.
I can hear a little bit of an echo on someone, so I don't know if you guys could turn your speakers down just a little.
Yeah, just done.
Thank you, Michael. So I think we'd all agree that the digital printing technology is gaining momentum in the corrugated industry, but the big question is why? And so, Michael, can I come to you for your viewpoint on that, please?
Yes, thank you. Well, what is really happening is that the market is shifting, right? So brands want to move faster, launching products more quickly and running shorter campaigns, and yet still creating packaging that draws attention, both on the shelf and in an online unboxing. So traditional printing is still great for long runs, no question, right? But it just doesn't give you that kind of flexibility and speed. And while commercial offset has been digitally optimized for some times in the past, so corrugated production is only now beginning to adapt. So that's where digital makes it different. No plates, you can save time, costs, and waste, and you have a minimal setup time. And the technology itself has caught up. With water-based ink and high-resolution heads, the quality is exactly where brand owners expect it to be. Plus, you can do customization and personalization, which are getting more and more important. And if you look at the economics, especially in markets like Germany, corrugated volumes have been shrinking. So minus 8% in 2022, minus 13% in 2023, and another 8% this year. So with rising raw material and energy costs, converters are facing intense pressure. So digital helps them stay competitive with faster, smaller batch sizes, reduced stock, and better supply chain integration. So it is really a combination of market demands, cost pressure, and sustainability that's pushing digital forward.
Yeah, an excellent kind of win-win both for the converters and for the end customers, where you're not having to hold a load of stock of pre-printed materials. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. So the same question to you, Gert. What do you think is the primary driver behind this gaining momentum of digital in the corrugated industry?
Yeah, I think obviously, Michael, you touched on a bunch of things there, and some of those I'm just going to elaborate on. I do think, like in any other segment in the printing industry, short runs are here to stay, and the dynamics are typically the same, like reducing stocks. That's not just on the converter side, but also the brands wanting to make sure that they don't throw away loads of copies of something because there is a regulatory change that forces them now to update the artwork and to redo everything again. So certainly the regulatory landscape and the constant changes there is a driver on its own. The other thing I may just say, just in general, the focus on go-to-market speed at brands, and any opportunity for them to shave off a little bit of time in that process is helpful. And certainly digital printing, for the reasons that Michael touched on, is a pretty good fit there. And last but not least, and maybe a little bit further out in that respect, but as we're coming to regulations that kind of force people to digitize all the information, it's tracking and tracing, serialized codes and things like that, you automatically point into digital printing as well. So why is corrugated now the next wave? Well, labels was the first, as we all know, and in that space it really is just another printing process, and people switch back and forth as needed. And now the folding carton was tried and flexible packaging was tried. There's a lot of challenges around materials. I think in the corrugated space now the technical requirements are met, and there's also, like, I guess on the materials side, there's a little bit more tolerance on the color space, which kind of makes it the natural next wave in digital printing.
Fantastic, thank you. If you've heard any of my previous sessions, you'll know that I'm a bit of a nerd, a bit of a geek around track and trace, traceability, 2D codes, QR codes, etc. So you're saying exactly the right things for me to hear. Yeah, thank you. I want to come to you specifically with a question about job management and planning. So workflow. How can digital printing and an integrated workflow together streamline prepress and print production, either in a hybrid or a fully digital environment? And what do you think are the key benefits that are achieved as a result of that integration?
Yeah, well, okay, so let's two areas, right? Let's start with the digital only environment first. Those digital presses, yeah, better than anyone else, are not something you buy every day. So you need to make sure that when you buy something like that, its uptime is absolutely top. And of course, these devices are fast, so you can feed it with lots of very short runs, and that's the very reason why people buy it very often. That also means that any step before that should be streamlined, and in essence, however fast the digital press is, it should always be the bottleneck. That means you go from the press, you go upstream and you get to pre-press first. And there, of course, reducing or eliminating the manual touch point is critical. And of course, rule-based automation facilities like Esco's automation engine, does that really well. So well to the point that it pushes the bottleneck further upstream into the customer service area. And then you get into the discussions and the communication between the print buyer and the converter. And also there, Esco solutions are out there to help, and certainly with the cloud platform, we're kind of taking that to the next level. So that's really it, just making sure that there is a streamlined process all the way to the press, and the press is always the slowest one. In a hybrid environment, though, it's obviously all of what I just said is still very relevant there, but there is more around how can I make sure that I move back and forth to the correct, from an economic perspective, printing technology. And so the workflow there ensures that you can postpone that decision to the very last minute without having to rely on experts to make sure the right profile is there, that color consistency is guaranteed, and all of that, right? And variable data if needed. So that's kind of where it helps ensuring that economic balance between the different printing processes.
Perfect, thank you. Same question to you, Michael. You know, in from a workflow perspective, how do you see that
Yeah, I
integration?
can add something about the question about time to shelf to corrugated, reduce time to shelf. Yeah, because time to shelf is probably the #1 challenge, right? So with traditional corrugated processes, if you want a new tray design or a seasonal update, it takes from 45 to 60 days easily, right, Gerd? And it's a really long time. You've got new design, approval, samples, plate making, sometimes multiple sites involved, and it's a complex, slow cycle. So, and digital changed that completely. You can prototype almost instantly, show samples in the same day, and even make less changes without having redo new plates. So, print on demand means you only produce what you need and when you need it, and job changeover are quick because there's no new machine setup, right? So you mentioned that the print process is the slowest one. No, it's the whole process. If it's digital, I think it can be improved massive. So now if you put workflow automation on top, for example, with ESCO Web Center, suddenly design, approval, file preparation, and the press are all connected, right? So that can save weeks. So instead of months, you are talking about days from concept to shelf. So should be both digital printing and workflow work together.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, obviously, I'm a marketing guy, and the as a marketer, the idea of getting a fast product trial to market, testing out to see variants of a product perhaps, where you're not having to do big runs, you can put in the traceability codes and get direct to consumer feedback of the product, see whether or not actually it's worth doing a full run of. That kind of short run product testing, it's fantastic. Digital is perfectly suited to that kind of environment. I'd love to see this coming into Corrugated as well. So thank you guys. Gerd, I'm going to stay with you. How can converters, bearing in mind run lengths are getting shorter and order frequency is increasing rapidly, how can they manage job planning and print scheduling efficiently in that kind of context?
Yeah, actually, that is a very interesting one, Jeremy, because planning has never been the easiest task, right? If you look at who the planners are out there, usually they have decades of experience, tribal knowledge. But when these people then retire, now how do you ensure business continuity in that respect? So this is actually, and if you think about it, it's all about, which devices do I have? How much do they cost? How fast do they go? What material do they take? And there is a gazillion combinations that you need to be aware of as a planner. So, and if you have a gazillion combinations, that is exactly what AI does better than any human being. So there, like it's an AI driven thing. Like for instance, ESCO's Phoenix is a planning system that is AI driven, and it takes the digitization of your production environment, which devices, the sizes, how fast they go, the cost per hour, and then it triangulates that with order and orders information. So it can come up with the most efficient way to put these orders together in a plan. And then you can, you kind of say, do I waste first, or, minimal waste first, or is it cost first, or is it speed first? So that's kind of what that does. And it's the perfect assistant to a planner. But of course, planning and scheduling are very adjacent tasks, but they're done by different. Typically, scheduling is done in an MIS system, so a deep productized integration between both is a requirement. But certainly, that's what we hear all the time. Planning becomes a bigger and bigger topic as run lengths come down, and of course, if that helps you to take out cost and material and waste, then that's a big tick just right there. And actually, digital print has a step ahead of conventional print in that respect. It is out of the box. It's an expanded gamut system, so you don't need to worry about Pantone colors and different jobs and things like that. It is all fixed color set, and nothing stops you from doing it on the conventional side. But there is a process change. So on the digital side, you get it along with the digital press out of the gate.
And you mentioned regulation and then the impact on sustainability, environmental friendliness, the reduction of waste. I mean, I would presume that there are no customers for either of you that aren't considering the impact of regulation. Yeah,
you have to. And for us, the next one is to make sure you plan with a sustainability first mindset there. That's kind of what we're dealing with right now.
So how would you just digging into that, what do you see as the main kind of tenets of designing and planning for with a sustainability mindset? What are the key tenets of that for a customer?
Well, first of all, like if you have information on carbon, so the materials recyclability is nothing much that a planning system can do, but you can plan on energy usage, and of course there is also a direct link. If you plan in a way that you minimize the material usage, that in itself feeds into, hey, this is the best planning for sustainability. But you have to triangulate it with energy usage and water, perhaps, and carbon, of course.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Geert. So, Michael, one for you. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for added value through digital print in Corrugated, beyond that kind of time to shelf aspect?
Yeah. That's we talk about time to shelf is obvious one, sure, but if you look a bit further, I think the real opportunities are around cost, sustainability, and marketing impact. That what Geert mentioned, right? So on cost, you're cutting out analog prepress, reducing overruns, avoiding obsolete stock, and that's a big deal in a margin pressured market. On sustainability, aqueous inks dry faster. We use aqueous inks in our machine, so it dries faster, use less energy, and as an ink chemistry evolves, we will reduce or even remove the need for primer or varnish. So that makes recycling easier and lower cost again. So we talk all the time about cost. And then there's a marketing side. So packaging is now a communication tool, you know, that just for big brands, but also for smaller brands today. So with digital, even a small brand can afford multiple versions, personalization, or a special campaign. And so in summary, beyond speed, it's all about cost, greener production, and real brand differentiation.
And I mean, I've banged on for a long time about how my view that the packaging is the product. You know, there isn't a differential between the two, and we saw obviously through COVID with lots of e-commerce companies who couldn't get the brand experience of a product being opened in a controlled environment like a store. That they looked for that, extending the brand experience into packaging for all the e-commerce shipments. You know, printing inside the plain brown box to give you that sense of brand. And I think the more that brands recognize that packaging is a fundamental and central part of the full brand experience, I think the more successful they will become. And of course, corrugate printing is absolutely central to that, from whether it be an on-shelf or whether it be or an e-commerce or a shipping perspective. So thank you, Michael. Really appreciate that. I just want to give a reminder to people that please do submit your questions. As I said, anything that doesn't get answered on the session today will be answered separately afterwards by the guys sitting behind us, metaphorically speaking, for us. If we can get them to you guys during the course of the session, I will do, obviously. Now, I want to touch on sustainability, because sustainability absolutely is, we talked about it a little bit earlier, it's central to most of the key strategic decisions that are happening within everything within packaging, to be honest, print and packaging. But I want to ask you both, and Geert, I'll come to you first. How do you think specifically sustainability can be improved through digital corrugated printing? And then Michael, I'll let you loose because I know this is a favorite topic of yours, but Geert, I'll come to you first.
It's kind of difficult for me from a workflow perspective say this is digital, other than what was already said about, you know, you just print exactly however you need to print, and that's it. There is no waste in that respect. However, if what is printed is wrong, it's still going to be waste, and this is where workflow comes in. So the quality first, and this is really where AI is now making sure that this very laborious task of quality assurance is being automated, and that there is even compliance checks and the content is correct and as per the rule books and everything else. So this is really a main focus, that any reprint is, you know, eliminated. Nobody wins with a reprint. So that's the big center stage there. But when you think about some other aspects, and certainly as you talk about sustainability with PCR content, recycled material and everything else, you need to make sure that you don't end up with a reprint, because the color is now all of a sudden affected. It's not the content, but it's the color. It's different, and of course, the fact that it is a recycled material will have an impact on that. So we need to make sure that we capture that in the workflow. And then there's a totally different aspect, perhaps very relevant to corrugated boxes, is logistics. And you may well, with the digital press, print exactly what you need and however many you need, but perhaps a slightly smaller box is going to ship more products on a pallet, more pallets on a truck, less trucks on the road. So there you have like a knock-on effect. And rather than, one of the things that we do with our palletization software is combining structural design, 3D, and palletization to absolutely maximize product on pallet on truck. And so, and now we've integrated with carbon quota, for instance, to also give, for every solution proposed, to give a carbon footprint. So also there you can make informed decisions. Last but not least, this very palletization is also taking into account the strength analysis, because the last thing you want to see is that you've got this wonderful recycled board, but it ends up toppling over in the back of a lorry. So, and this is a totally different angle on sustainability. Yeah, that is where it registers.
Yeah, it's always those unexpected ones. I mean, from the coding and marking world, we've often talked about the challenge of making sure that your print quality is absolutely perfect, because when it gets opened in the back of a lorry and somebody opens that first pallet, if the code's not legible, that whole lot's coming back to you. So
exactly right.
Absolutely, and you've got all the costs of the shipping, all the costs of the materials, etc. So it's not just in the print process. I love it, absolutely. Exactly. Michael, the floor is yours. Hit me with sustainability.
So sustainability is huge right now, right? And the digital plays right into that. So that what Gerd mentioned, exactly the same amount of boxes you need, and so converters can print exactly what they need when they need it. So you cut overruns, avoid stockpile that go obsolete, and reduce waste, right? And so when I look at our presses, we use water-based ink, which is recyclable, food safe, and much more eco-friendly than UV inks. And with things like our iTech poly-M technology, we don't need primer or binder, which makes recycling cleaner. So add to that low fluid consumption, can say you need less drying energy, right? And the overall footprint is much lower. And our inks complies with food packaging regulations, ensuring safety and environmental compatibility. And the next step is with digital, we avoid additional chemicals. This is another sustainable advantage, because when you look at offset or flexo printing, I put it on a list, you require various cleaning chemicals such as solvent-based cleaner, roller cleaner, plate cleaner, blade cleaner, UV varnish cleaner, a lot of cleaning fluids for everything. So with digital, we have no cleaning fluids at all. So, and the consumer angle matters too for this sustainability theme, right? Because across Europe, Germany, or for example, France, surveys show that 8 of 10 buyers actively look for sustainable packaging. So they are aware of sustainability. And when converters switch to sustainable digital printing, they are not only improving their environmental footprint, but also providing brands with something consumer trust and expect.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, of course, you touched on the footprint, but you also touched on the drying time. I mean, I was very surprised at how small the footprint that we could get with the X630i, but that's because of that lack of necessity for an enormously long drying phase, and particularly in Europe, as we've looked at energy costs going up and up and up over the course of the last few years, that ability to really get a much shorter drying process, a much faster drying process,
especially in Europe. So
the energy costs that you save out of this, it become a significant factor in their own right. Yeah, thank you, Michael. I knew you were going to enjoy that particular section, so thank you. Gerd, I'm going to come back to you now. You've touched on it a little bit. We talked about bringing the smarts into the supply chain and into the factory itself. So let's talk about the factory first. So what role would you see workflow automation playing in enabling a smart factory approach in corrugate production?
Yeah, I think I said some of the things, right? So smart
Yeah.
being well, it depends on how you define it. But if I look at smart, it is really like the most streamlined operation, taking into account a bunch of scenarios. So I touched on the rule-based automation earlier on. I think that whether that's rule-based automation in prepress or rule-based kind of business process management, it's kind of similar. It's a different department, but essentially making sure that you digitize your rules. We all have rules.
Yep.
We apply them. They're all in our heads, and if the people then leave, then they're no longer anywhere. So it's kind of like making sure that it's kind of like an insurance policy, like you digitize the decision-making process. And the decision-making process could be customer-based, could be print process-based, could be, many things that underpin what I said earlier on, to be able to switch between technologies very, very seamlessly. So rules-based automation is critical. And the next thing I would say is, so very simply put, don't duplicate data, integrate. Today it seems weird, but like after more than 20 odd years with JDF and everything else, and now with cloud and APIs, that there is still a lot of people that go from department to department, duplicating data, making errors. And of course, duplicating data is the mother of all evil, quite frankly. So ensure that your MIS system, if you have a web to print, that it's all properly connected to the single source of truth. That's a critical one. So yeah, and then specifically automating in prepress, and then also the automation in the customer service department. I touched on it earlier. I think that is probably more of an issue these days than prepress.
Data issues absolutely are the bane of my life in pretty much everything that I do. So it's the same in every department. I 100% agree. And it used to be, I think, when they first started talking about digital media, it was that WORM acronym of write once, read many. But it's the same kind of principle of author the data once and then just share it as broadly as possibly as you can. Because yes, humans bring in errors, and errors pervade all the way through a system. So yeah, thank you.
They do.
Great answer. Michael, same question to you. In terms of the smart factory view, workflow automation and digital in Corrugate, how do you see it contributing towards smart factory as an ideal?
Yeah, that was Gerd mentioned. I would call workflow automation as the backbone of a smart factory, right? So when you digitize and automate file preparation, quality checks, job scheduling, all those repetitive steps, you cut errors and keep production flowing smoothly. And what we are seeing is that shorter runs and more frequent orders are the new normal. So you need more automation, and the key is to have a workflow and planning tool that can handle that complexity, batch jobs intelligent. So you reduce steps, setups, and keep utilization high, even when run lengths are small. So And once you link it to an ERP or MIS system, everything is connected. Planning, logistics, production data, jobs can be scheduled in real time, material flow efficiently, and you get instant feedback from printing, converting, and from the finishing also. So from my opinion, also frees up people, because instead of spending time on routine preparations, they can focus on higher value tasks. And because everything is connected, you've got an adaptive environment that can react quickly if something changed. So that's a really important thing.
Yeah, I think that idea of change being a constant, I think, is a really important one for people to remember. You can plan as well as you like. We've talked the importance of effective planning, but stuff changes, and the essence of that smart factory is you're getting data from every single part of your factory. Use it in a way that actually allows you to have the flexibility, the agility that you can adapt to change as it arises. Thank you, guys. Now, Kit, you talked a little bit about logistics and shipping and palletization, and I won't name the representative from a large UK retailer who said out to his audience of product manufacturers, "I am no longer paying to ship your air." When he was talking about large products that were larger than they needed to be and incorporated a load of air inside the packaging, and so there was this push to try and reduce down the size of or right sizing the packaging. But logistics is a costly business. It's the end-to-end supply chain. is an opportunity or a huge opportunity to improve efficiency, effectiveness, cost reduction, etc. So what do you see as the key components of a smart supply chain, and how does digital print and workflow technology support that principle?
Yeah, wow, that's a lot of questions in one.
It is.
So
Yeah, sorry
first,
about that.
first, there is actually a legislation in the UK that forbids it to have X amount of air in a container, right? So there's, and there is other countries there as well. So yes, absolutely. Well, the way I look at it, like digital print is quite a long way down the chain, right? It starts in the brand, and I think if you look at the smart supply chain, you look at the entire end-to-end process, and in other words, the go-to-market process starts at the brand and is handed over to a multitude of people, and then eventually the product is then shipped. And I'd say one of the trouble, and we mentioned it at the beginning today, that's 4 to 6 months. We really, as ESCO, because we supply to converters, but we also supply to brands, so we have that privilege to get insights from both sides. And what we see is that it's a combination of ensuring that the right person does the right thing at the right time at whichever point, but that there's also like a digital handover, and that you also enable the right persona to do the task. And I'll give you a very simple example where that goes off the rails today. Today a job comes into the converter, and the first thing that the customer service representative does is go to prepress and say, can you pre-flight this for me, please? And then pre-flight is interrupted. There's a waiting time. Okay, pre-flight is finally done. It goes back to the customer service representative, who then usually kind of translates it in an email to the print buyer, and then you go into iterations. Whereas what actually should happen is the customer service representative doesn't need to be a pre-press expert to perform that task themselves. Even more, the brand should actually do the pre-flight ahead of sending it somewhere. So, and I think this is where we believe there is a transformation, a revolution happening with cloud capabilities, where you take technologies that are typically housed in applications that live somewhere in a department and kind of centralize those, and you enable people to do things that before they had to interact with other departments. So it's really around, you give an enablement to someone, and as a result, you eliminate iterations. When you eliminate iterations, you eliminate time. It ticks the box on go-to-market acceleration. And there's many such examples. Now, when it comes to digital printing, I think Michael just touched on it. There is a bunch of steps that are not part of digital printing. You don't need plates. You don't need all of these people there. And therefore, you don't need the iterations. So in that respect, just by its very nature, it is very suited for a go-to-market, sped up go-to-market. At the end of the day, somebody said to me once, in a digital label conference, when I stood into this hotel, it wasn't this hotel, and I stood in the elevator, and this guy sees my tag and says, "Oh, what are you here for?" I said, "Oh, it's a conference on digital labels." A whole conference on digital labels? He didn't get it, because he said, like, what's so difficult about Control P, right? Print. But essentially, that is what the belief is, that digital print enables that sped up go-to-market process.
Fantastic. Thank you. What a lovely little analogy there. Michael, same question to you. What do you see as the key components of a supply chain, and how does digital workflow support it?
The key components, I would say a smart supply chain really comes down to 3 things. So it's the connectivity we talk about, it's the automation that we talk about, and it's the flexibility. So you want every stage, design, pre-press, production, logistics, linked together and responsive, so what the customer actually needs. And that's where digital print comes in. So with the X630, you've got a single pass inkjet machine with speed and quality, but more important, it's a bigger part of the ecosystem. So we work together with Sarah and Sun Automation, so we make sure that the press fits into the right converting and finishing and handling system. So print isn't an isolated step anymore; it's a full integrated steps, digital printing. So and on the workflow side, ESCO is critical, because automation, file preparation, catching errors before the press, that what Gerd mentioned, sending files back and forth all the time, optimizing jobs, it all removes manual work and smooths the process. So together it means fewer touch points, faster response time, and the ability to handle short runs versioning or just-in-time jobs easily. So in the end, digital print plus workflow makes corrugated operation faster, more flexible, efficient, and customer-driven.
Thank you. A little kind of side question, I guess, just to pick your brains in terms of viewpoints. So, I mean, you've talked about the different phases of development of technology and the adoption of technology through digital. So, Geert, I really like the mention of, you know, we went through a phase where it was, let's get all the data together in one place and that's going to solve all the problems. And then it's, okay, well, actually, if we put all the applications in the cloud and we properly integrate them into the cloud, that's solving a load of additional problems. Michael, you've talked about the transition from films and plates out to digital. What do you each see as kind of the desirable next step in terms of development of technology in your particular areas, both in terms of workflow or in terms of corrugate printing? Now, I should say here, this is not a confirmation of a roadmap or anything like that. I don't want to share any confidential information, but just generally in terms of the industry itself, where do you see things going over the course of the next few years? So, Geert, first to you.
So I'm not going to do a roadmap, but we do have a cloud platform, a cloud native platform at ESCO called S2, and that's effectively the bridge between different players in the packaging supply chain. Because I do believe that not duplicating data, and I don't mean that just within a company, but between different stakeholders, between a print buyer and a converter, perhaps a pre-media in the middle, there should not be duplication. There should be sharing and allowing people to do whatever it is they need to do and put it back in version control and everything else. But that is I think that's kind of core at the platform that we built. The second focus is heavily on quality. We know a lot of people on the brand side. On the brand side is more about complying, right? Making sure that the content is correct and that, you know, everything is according to the rule books. And in the converter side is, okay, now we've prepared this job for printing, but, you know, is it still 100% what we've been given? And are we, from a quality perspective, 100% sound? That is very much a task that we take to heart on the artificial intelligence side, and make sure artificial intelligence really takes the burden away and fundamentally speeds up and improves the quality. So quality and data centralization and sharing are two key things that we're focusing on right now. And data in its own right is a huge epic, right? Because as we know, the digital product passport is coming, all the reporting requirements and everything else is all around digitizing data and making it transparent for reporting purposes and both on the converter and the brand side.
Thank you, Geert. Michael, same to you. What do you see as kind of the magic transformations that are coming next in digital corrugate?
Yeah, looking when I visit the plants of the customer, I see there's a lot of manual work, not just the workflow perspective, but in the doing it, from printing, die cutting, sorting material. There's a lot of manual work, and I think they should reduce this also with digital printing and digital die cutting probably also, and all the other steps also should be automated and to run smoother and faster. So that's what I saw when I visit customers. In some factories you have it, but mostly there are a lot of people doing some manual stuff, running around, driving with a forklift and whatever they do. So it looks for me not really efficient. So
so we'll see further cost reductions, further automations, further efficiencies in what still remains a very, very narrow margin industry, which I'm sure that will be appreciated by all the converter customers. Gentlemen, I'm seeing a message on my chat saying we're running out of time. We're running out of time. So apologies to anybody that submitted questions. I have done it again, and I have used up all of the time available that was given to me to talk to you guys rather than coming to the floor for questions. So apologies if you submitted a question. As I said beforehand, we will answer all of the questions separately through LinkedIn itself. So all that really remains today is Geert and Michael, thank you ever so much for joining me today. It's been a really interesting conversation. This is an area that I know not enough about, and so I'm on my journey, as they say, from numpty to know all, and you're very much helping me on my own understanding of these technology areas. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it and didn't find it too taxing.
No, absolutely not. Thank you for having me, Jeremy.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Jeremy.
You're very welcome indeed. And we will be issuing details about the next LinkedIn Lives that we've got planned over the course of the next 6 to 12 months. So stay tuned, and I hope you can join us again for the very next one. Thanks very much indeed, and have a great day. Cheers, everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.